Okay, my name is Jan Jocham, and this is my friend Dennis Butke, who worked on a assembly line in West Allis.
Hello, my name is Dennis Butke, and I worked on the line in August of '74. I started. I was probably about 26 years old, and I had never done anything like that before. And the very first day I was there, I had to clean the grills, which was probably nothing. It was just something to keep me busy. And the next day I went on the line to do an assembly job.
So how did you get hired? Was it like Jan, you just heard they were hiring and walked in?
No, this was a funny situation. My dad died late August of '74, and I didn't like milking cows. And my neighbor suggested a man that had worked down there well over 30 years, and he gave him my name, and I went in, and they wanted me right away. And I says, "You gotta wait 2 weeks. I have the cows." They gave me about a week and a half, and I sold a whole herd to a fella, and I was on the line, and I was there almost 7.5 years. So I enjoyed it immensely.
So what were some of your jobs on the line?
Well, I had the 7580 and 7080 air cleaners that mounted to the grill on the front of the tractors. And I had a little table that I could assemble it on, and I counted the pieces. It was well over 60 pieces, and I could put that together in a little over 6 minutes. So.
You said you put decals on the tractors too, huh?
Yes, I put them on all the 7000s, and I had the 185, 175 and 200, and they were split. You had to put the one side on first and then the number on the front, and you had to line them up. You had to be pretty good with it, and it was all kind of like a little soap, and you'd soap the tractor, and then you'd put the decal on, and then you'd have a squeegee, and it'd just put it on real nice.
Now everybody nowadays, when they're restoring a tractor, goes through so much care to make sure they're exactly lined up right and that. Did you guys go through that much effort?
No, not really. We just did it by eyesight.
You get used to it. This new what part of your body that it's lining up with, and then you look at the front to make sure it's level. In the tractor, everything, you line up the front, and then it was just in the right spot. If it was too low, the gap, you look at the gap. That's how we did. We just, after a while, you just did it without thinking.
With the front hood, you just lined up. If that was square, you just made sure it wasn't too high or too low, like on the 7000.
And if you can get it on without getting bubbles in it, or if it was wrong, you wouldn't be on doing it very long.
No, once you used the squeegee, it was on there. It was on there good and tight.
So what were some of your other jobs on the line?
Well, I had put the batteries in, and then I had there was a rock guard, like that 7045 that's sitting over there. There's a rock guard that goes underneath to protect the bottom of the tractor. So I'd had to loosely put it under there, and then I had the step. There's a brand new step there that came that was bigger. It was kind of like a diamond, and then there's a bar that was with rubber, and it fastened underneath the tractor. I had to put that all together. So I had to kind of be a little bit mobile to get under there and get that under.
And then the main thing is make sure you can do it without the hose getting caught underneath the dolly.
Yeah.
The air hose.
Yeah, everything was put together with air guns, and you didn't want to get past your station, otherwise the air gun, the hose wouldn't reach.
And then people get hostile too.
Yeah, you're in somebody else's zone, you know.
Oh, tell us about the time you were training your one-day replacement.
Oh, one day I wanted a PA day, which is a personal absence day. And I had this one guy, I trained him on the whole job, and I had him put the cables on the tractors, on the batteries. I had the batteries already installed, and I gave him the wrench to tighten up the cables, and he came back about 10 or 15 seconds later. I was doing some other element. Everything on the tractor was an element, and it was all timed. So he came back with this wrench. It says it doesn't work. And I says, turn it around, it'll work. There was 2 different sizes on the wrench.
How did you and Jan meet at the factory?
I just started talking to him. I don't know. You were over on the panels, weren't you?
Well, I was always eating lunch. I had a table because I was putting instrument panels together, and I saw him sitting on a bunch of cardboard boxes trying to make a lunch table out of it, and I told him, why don't you come over and join me? And
the friendships endured.
That's how we met.
Fascinating that you guys had a lunchroom, but you'd never use it because it was too.
No, I'd never take a break.
No.
From the time I got there till the time I left, I was usually the first one on the line, and I was the last one to leave the line. And the day I got laid off in '81, I think it was late in '81, I didn't know that was my last day when I walked out. And the supervisor said something nice to me that not too many people have said. He said, I would have never got rid of you. And that was it. That's the last time I saw an Allis tractor on the line.
You never even got to work on the 8000 series then.
I put a couple of weights on the first 2. They were just coming around the bend to the straight part where they ended up finished. And I think I did 2 tractors on the 8000 series. That was it.
If somebody has serial number 1 or serial number 2,
yeah, I don't know what the serial number was, but yeah.
It says here you lifted the 7580 off the line.
Oh yes, there was a November, and it was deer hunting season, and for some reason there was 2 guys that worked in the marriage station where they put all the universals, all the drive shafts together, and the big pins for the movement.
They just joined the tractors together.
Yeah, and I worked in that station once in a while when they were behind, and for some reason they gave both guys off for deer hunting. And what comes down the line? A 7580. Nobody knew how to get it off the line, and the supervisor said, we don't want that sitting in the way. So they come and asked me to lift it off the line. And I told the supervisor, you better put somebody on my job so I don't get behind. Because it took like three tractors to get it off. I had to mount the big brackets on the frame on the front. The wheels were never there yet, but the 2 big brackets that bolted on both sides, we had a 20-ton crane, and it lifted the front end off the dolly, and I had to swing it around and put it in a marriage station which had a great big hydraulic lift. And then I'd unhook that and then go back for the back half. And same thing, I had the brackets, I had to put the brackets on the back part. Actually, I didn't have brackets, I just put them around the axle. You know, there was chains, I just put them around the axle. It lifted up the back end pretty easy. And I put that in the marriage station. There was 2 hydraulic lifts, one for each half. So that was interesting. I was kind of proud of that. I was one of the few that ever picked up a brand new 7580 off the line.
Did you have like a favorite tractor when you come down the line?
I like the 200. I don't know why. I like the 200 with the cab on it. I tell you, the 6080 and the 6060, they didn't have no 6070s when I was there. And I heard that they had made something like 700 after I had been laid off. So I liked 6080 and 6060s. But I had the job of putting the console in there. And I had a hard time. I don't know where they made the cabs at that time, but they didn't line up. There was like 5 holes, 5 bolts that bolted that to the side of the tractor.
LaFord made the cabs.
Okay. Yep. Anyway, I could get them all in except one. And one day the engineer came by me. He says, "Why ain't you putting them all in?" And I says, "I can't get them in. It don't line up." And he says, "Well, it should." Well, I says, here's a 60 coming. He was probably only about 20 feet away. I says, "Here's the console. You go put it in." They sat in that tractor 45 minutes. They didn't get them all in because the guys on the repair floor, they actually had to pull the tire off the tractor to get that bolt in, that cap screw. You know.
Well, you also, since your farm was close to the factory, you got some work from the proving grounds then too.
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't my farm. It was a guy that I worked for in town, about 5 miles away. And there was 9 of us. We ran 2,200 acres. I actually thought 8 hours on the assembly line was easy. It was still daylight, after being on the farm all my life. So I went and worked for him, and he got a 7580 and a 7000 from the proving grounds. And the 7000, for some reason, he put it on this 27-foot disc, and the great big wings went down, and we only put it in the ground about 2 inches. And I used that for a day, and I burnt out 35 gallons of diesel in 5.5 hours. If we put the disc all the way down, I don't know how far to go, but it wouldn't have never pulled it. They gave us a 7580, and they wanted a lot of hours put on it, and they had a 7-bottom plow on the tractor. And one day I was plowing out in Spring Prairie, Wisconsin, and we were on a 400-acre farm, and I was way in the back. And for some reason, I turned around and I looked, and the middle bottom of the plow was gone. 7 bottoms. And I looked back behind about 100 feet, and it was sitting on top of a rock about the size of a Volkswagen. And I went and picked it up and put it on the plow and took it to the where the car was parked, and I said, "That's the end of my night." But the plow was real heavy. It kind of bowed in the middle. It had a great big frame on it, about like that. It was really heavy.
They were saying the proving grounds, the 7580 started making noise, but the proving grounds wanted you to keep going?
Yeah, Earl was plowing near Waterford, and one day the motor started really making a racket, and the proving ground guys came out and they said, run it. And I don't know if he went 1 round and then the motor went, that was it. The motor gave up on him. So the plow kind of sat in the field for a month before they come and pick that up.
So not only did you guys work for Allis Chalmers, you had Allis Chalmers that you guys would pull together.
Yeah, we had a 7050. We got it out near, where was that, Madison? Maybe Janesville.
Near Janesville,
yeah.
A case dealership.
Yeah, and it showed 1,600 hours, but I think it was more like 11,600 hours was on it, because I saw a book, or the last place I stayed before I came here, they actually had a tractor with 13,800 hours on it. And that's the most hours I've ever seen on any tractor. I don't know if you've seen any with more, I don't know. That's a lot of hours. So
how did you pull in?
We never hooked it up to anything. Joe said hook it up to the disc, that big disc, but I didn't want to damage it or anything,
Yeah.
We never hooked it up to anything.
We never had a chance to put it through his paces to see if there's any issues, because we could have fixed if it had any issues.
Yeah. But it went up north. That's all I know. When I sold it to a farmer, it went up northern Wisconsin somewhere, and I don't know where it ended up.
Some of my buddies up in farmers in the northern part of Wisconsin are looking for it. Maybe someday we'll find it.
Yeah.
You know, parked in some barn somewhere. Or,
Yeah. Can't be hard to spot. It's got a 7050 logo on it, the size of the 7045.
And you painted the belly black, right?
Yeah, everything got painted black, and all the orange got painted orange. It really looks sharp. You got that one picture of it sitting near my barn, and it really looks sharp. I enjoyed it immensely. The very first year I think I got there, they bumped me off the line because they went down in production, and they took me to the repair floor, and they wanted me to drive this tractor. I don't know what it was. I think it was a 7020 out to the area where they store it for tractor transport to take to the state fairgrounds. And I got on that tractor, and he said, just go through the doors, be careful, you know. It was wide. And I got out in the aisle. I dropped that thing down in the highest gear and just opened it up. I was in heaven. I mean, if somebody would have walked out of that other building, I would have squashed them. Oh, that was my highlight. You know, drive that something with that much power.
Yeah.
I've been on little tractors all my life. You know, 30 horsepower tractors. Here I'm sitting on 130 horse. I mean, that was like day and night. It's like I opened it up. I had fun. You know, every day I had on the line, I enjoyed though. Every day.
Yeah, they got you to shake down a few too.
Oh yeah, they were shipping them to Mexico. Is that what it was?
Yeah, we had the Mexican tractors. We're still trying to find someone to go down to Mexico and see if they're still parked in that field near that Aztec burial grounds or something. Remember that one QA guy we had?
Yeah.
He went down with the tractors. They had some repair people and QA guys go down there, and they had to inspect them as the tractors were delivered, and then they just parked them in this big open field.
Yeah. We had a bunch of tractors we shipped to Europe. I don't know where they went. I can't remember where they went now, but they didn't do anything to them. And when they got there, they were all rusted from the salt water. And so what they had to do was back these things in on the weekends, like a Saturday, and coat the whole tractor with wax. Just spray wax all over the whole tractor so it wouldn't rust. And every once in a while, I'd get that job to
that was fun.
Pack them into the.
That was fun. After they were painted, you had to drive this tractor out.
You had to open the door and look out the door.
You had to drive it. You couldn't see out the front window.
Everything was wax, you know. But I guess that solved the problem. But the first load they hauled was all, I don't know, pretty bad, I guess. Yeah. You know. So then they came up with the idea of wax.
Remember that one guy was taking out pieces that they caught? He worked on the repair floor. He was taking out pieces.
Yeah.
One piece at a time to build a tractor at home, a 7080, I think of it.
Yeah. He got caught taking a can of just black spray paint, touch-up paint, and they went to his house and they found enough equipment in the garage and house to stock a dealership. So he got fired that day. Yeah. They couldn't. The union couldn't get him off of that, you know. But we actually had a supervisor once on second shift, and one day what was that? I think it was a generator or something, and he loaded it up in his truck, and out the gate he went, and they saw him on camera, and they said, bring that generator back or you're fired, and he brought it back. So
it's amazing.
There's stories you wouldn't believe, and even like the 108, 185, they used to use them at the state fairgrounds, you know, to pull the people movers. I don't know if you remember that. Have you been to the state fair enough? Wisconsin State Fair. They used to give, I don't know how many, maybe a half a dozen 185s.
Yeah, they're always Allis Chalmers tractors.
Yeah, always Allis. They donated them, and they probably put a couple 100 hours on them, and they bring them back to the plant, put them on the repair floor, take the tack out, put a new tack in.
Nobody was the wiser.
No, nobody knew that the tractor had a couple 100 hours. I don't know if it was that many, but
Well, they
them.
wrote it off as, you know, these things were shaken down real good.
Yeah.
You know, there was no issues, so they, you know, paint them up.
Oh, they run good.
Change the tack and
Yeah.
clean them up and check for oil leaks, and you know they're good to
They
go.
probably were better than the tractors that were shaken down. Yeah.
I remember our plant manager used to say, "They're not Cadillacs."
Oh yeah, that was the first 6,000 that came down the line.
They're not
that was
Cadillacs. Kurtzwell, yeah.
Jim Kurtzwell.
They're not Cadillacs. Fix them up and ship them.
He was standing right next to the tractor. All it had on was an engine and a couple of tires, and nothing else was on the tractor. He had the whole line shut down. I don't know if the north line was there. There was two lines. One was a big north line where they put all of the stuff together, the engine and the 3-point hitch and the rails and the motor and everything. And then our line was all the painted parts and stuff, which was kind of cleaner. Yeah, it was a lot cleaner. A lot cleaner to work on. But when the first 6060 came down the line, I had the job of putting the knobs in it. And they really didn't give any numbers or anything. So I kind of looked at the shape of the knob, and that's how I put them on. It must have been right. I never got hollered at.
Yeah, because QA, if he did something wrong, he would hear about it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's a question too. Like when a new tractor would come down, was there like, does he have like classroom stuff in that to learn how to do it? Or you just kind of learn on?
No, it was learn on the go.
No, they just flop everyone on the line. This is
you got a new man assignment.
Your man assignment.
Yeah.
The time study sheet. This is your job is in this. You know, all your parts and everything. You know, they had to follow this sheet.
You had to go and find the cap screws and lock washers and.
No, it's my job later on as a assembly line repairman to show them how to read that sheet. Some of them we were getting in that the guys couldn't figure out how to read.
It was page after page.
Yeah, you had to
kind of figure out what it was.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes some people had trouble. There's some people, they looked at it and they said, too much work. I want my steward. You know, and
well, I believe that.
And then some of the people got stuck with extra work, so then they had to come in early and subassemble some of the stuff just to keep up on the line.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they worked through their break. We got two 10-minute breaks and a 20-minute lunch break. So that sometimes we had to use that time just to catch up. And then sometimes the production fell behind for some reason, and the guy would go and turn the speed up on the line.
Oh yeah, towards the end of the day, if we were behind.
Yeah.
Sometimes the line would break down or something, and then after it got going, I don't know what happened. The chain broke. That's what it was. The chain would always break on the line. I don't know, it'd jump on the line. There was a big heavy chain that pulled all the tractors along, and then kind of like a big hook that was in with the chain, and that would pull the tractor along. And sometimes that chain would break, and then if they were behind, they had to get so many tractors off a day, and they'd crank it up a little bit. But the most, all the time I was there, the most I ever seen was 61 tractors in one day. And every time I turned around, I kid you not, there was a different tractor behind me.
Yeah,
that was moving. Everything on the line was an element. They called it. They didn't say put this cables on or batteries. It was an element, and everything was timed. And some of it was okay, and some of it was a little short. You know, you had to hurry. Other than that, I don't know. It was pretty much so it.
After a while, you do a number of these jobs, you get to know by heart. You could do almost, sometimes when we had snowy days, they used to shut the line down and send us all to work in some other part of the building. And then later on, they found out I could assemble the whole tractor, everything that was painted. And a bunch of us got together, and we would just start putting all the parts on it and push it down by hand, tripping the line. So when the snow day was ended, everything that's on the painted line was all on the repair floor.
Yeah.
And then they didn't send us over to work with the machinists. Those guys, they were kind of grumpy. They didn't like assemblers.
They didn't like us in the warehouse either.
Yeah, they didn't. There's places there, they didn't like us. They think we're, I don't know, they couldn't trust us, think we were gonna steal their.
So was everybody is kind of territorial? If you
Territorial, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, each division. We were in the tractor division, the 4 tractor. I got to tell you about the cabs. Every once in a while, they'd fall behind on the cabs, and they'd come through on this big overhead line, and they for some reason they were late, maybe with parts or something, I don't know, but they'd push them all the way to where the cab guy put them on,
Yeah.
and they would unhook the tractors, and then drop the cab on, and then push the tractor like from here over to those red chairs, like 50 feet, and then you got 20 guys working on this tractor at once, trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Remember that, Jan?
Yeah.
Oh, that was bad.
Well, my job basically, I was able to do most of the jobs on the line, so I kind of did it when a favor. Sometimes I helped them out here and there, and the lady that I had to put the headlights on the same 580, she couldn't squat down to do that job. Majority of the time I did that for her, just installed them. That's what my job basically was, to keep things moving. And if you notice a problem, so no one really hollered at me for getting in their way, because they knew if I got in their way, I was going to do their part of their job. And that was similar to assembly line repair. My job didn't really change, just just the title really.
All the tractors came down on a steel dolly, steel wheels about this wide, maybe about this high, and anything that got under them, like if people didn't watch out their wiring, the wiring would get caught under there. Oh, and then they'd have to fix the wiring.
The air hoses too.
Air hoses, they'd cut air hoses right off.
And you get someone on the line that didn't know what they're doing, and that's the thing that you notice that quick, that
in the tractor too long. You only had so much time to get rid of this tractor and get your job done and move on to the next one. I got to the point when I first got in there, I could listen. I could hear the air guns, and I could see where I wouldn't even have to look. I know where they were, the next employees. If they were gone, then I knew I was behind. I'd have to hurry up and get to that spot.
So is there a certain tractor you see coming down the line, you'd be like, ugh, not another one of them?
Maybe the 7580 was the hardest with the batteries.
Yeah,
that was a pain for me.
I was just hoping that they were supposed to put a 175, 185 behind it.
And that didn't work sometimes.
And sometimes you saw a 7000 right behind it.
Like 5 of them.
And that one time I saw 2 7580s came down the line.
At once.
At the same time.
Oh boy.
And the second one, and guarantee it went off the line.
Yeah, they can't get rid of them that long.
They couldn't. The mirror station could only do 4 a day. Yeah. So if he ran the extra 7580 down there, it sat on the end of the floor until they were done, so they can lift it off and put it together.
I know one day I was working in the marriage station, and I don't know where this tractor was going, probably somewhere in Louisiana where the rice was. So I was moving a 34 point something, 34.5 rice tire with cleats, with lugs this one. I was scared this thing was this tall. I was scared it was going to fall on me. Holy cow, I had to roll 4 of them to the marriage station to put on the tractors. The
wheels.
The wheels.
Yeah, that's the only way. Yeah, they ran down the line. Cane tractors. They couldn't put the tires on the line. Yeah, they had to do it in the marriage station.
Yeah.
And
it would have been too tall or something. I don't know. Probably hit stuff. Even to go through the paint booth and where they baked the paint on. It was really surprising. The area where they baked the paint on was what? Not even hardly 100 feet. Like 50 feet, they'd really baked that paint on. The tractors came out, they were really hot.
Yeah.
You had to be careful touching them. After 10 minutes they were cold already. But when they came out of that, after baking the paint on, they were hot. So.
What are you guys' thoughts, looking around here at the show and seeing all these Allis Chalmers tractors that have been lovingly restored, and some that you guys actually probably built?
Yeah. I probably built that 7045. I probably were, I don't know. It had to be, because the 8000 series was coming again, Jan.
Yeah.
You know, that one was gone then.
I remember we had to take out the, I remember the mirrors on there, the electric motors in there and all that. And a lot of times I had to come in on a weekend sometime, and they would have bad ones or damaged ones. You go through the box. You know, half the boxes, you open the box up, and the mirror's cracked, or something about it was damaged. And there's a lot of parts too that we came across on the assembly line that the next time I had that same problem with it on the line, you said, I wonder if they just send it back. So purposely I would mark it, put a little mark on the part, and sure enough, it came back. You know, and the next time, instead of turning it in, send it back to the manufacturer, and I threw it in the garbage can. I said, I'm getting tired of replacing the same part over and over. You know that.
I remember this one time they had a trucker. I don't know where he was going, but he had either a 7580 or an 8550, and he hit a bridge with the cab.
Oh yeah.
He tore the cab right off the tractor.
Oh, Jan was telling us that story. Then they brought it back.
They brought it back and they pulled off all of the bad stuff and put a new cab on it.
Yeah, I think you were with me when we had to put the cab on there.
Yeah, I think we dropped the cab on.
Remember the cab people that came in because the union said they had to come in.
And we did it.
Yeah, and they were sitting on the table cracking jokes and all that, laughing, and drinking coffee, and I said, and we were getting paid overtime, you know. They're getting paid overtime too, but who cares? We had to get it done, you know.
Yeah, and we got it together. Yeah. But I don't know what happened with the trucker. I would think he was in trouble. Putting a new cab on. This tractor here, I had the job of putting on the decal, and then I had the job of prepping the grill and both fenders and the hood. And up here, there's like a rubber disc. I had to put that in for Mary. And then I'd have to put all these cap screws in, and there was a different decal for this. It was kind of like a square one. I had that job, and there's like clips. There's like clips that hold these cap screws in. I had to put them in, tighten them up. And then in here, I had this job. There's a little device that holds the fender tight right here. I had that adjustment. Plus I had to set the injector there in the end. And then this step here I would put on. I had to carry it. One day I carried it wrong, and the thing twisted in my hand. It took a chunk out of my finger. Really, and I never said anything to anybody. I just took a handkerchief and wrapped it. That was all right. And then under here, there's a bar that fastens underneath there. I had to put that on. And then there's a rock guard under there. I had that to put on underneath. There's probably about 6 bolts that went under there. So, oh, and then they wanted me to put, there was a grommet here. There's a little different one here, but I had to put this in and then seal it. But what happened with that is I would seal it and then I'd get great big blisters. I was allergic to the silicone, and I had, remember the repairman, Jen, that was on the repair floor? Joe Nennick was his name. He helped me do that because I had like 3 or 4 big blisters on my hand that just was taking the skin right off. So I had to stop doing that. That's about it on this one. But it was a nice job.
Yeah, they're nice looking tractors.
Yeah. And then there's a panel up here that I had for a while. I had to glue a piece of foam on that panel, and then there was a couple of foam blocks I had to put in there, just for vibration. I think it was for. I did that, so I had to climb up in the tractor a lot. Yeah, good thing I was young. I was young. I could do it. I couldn't do that now. But I don't know. I was just down to Racine, Wisconsin, and I see Case IH is hiring, and I told my brother-in-law if I was 26 years old, I'd go and apply. I'd go down there and see if they'd take me on. They were looking for help, Case IH in Racine.
Well, I was wondering if you would like to do me the honor of signing the strat sheet on this here 7580.
Sure.
All right.
No problem.
Like the Allis Chalmers employee yearbook. There's Jan's.
Okay.
It's a little.
It's starting to fade. We might have to have Jan.
Re-sign it, huh?
Yeah, but
I'll probably sign right below his then.
I'll give you the marker.
Yeah.
There you are. So rub some of the dust off. Might have to clear coat over these. Oop.
Artist signing his work.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Did you ever think that when you worked there, you'd ever get to write your name on one of these?
No. If we'd have done that, we'd have been fired.
I don't think you got to worry about that anymore.
No. Yeah, that was. I should have knew when the supervisor told me I would have never got rid of you. There was something wrong, you know. But that was quite a change for me to come off the dairy farm, and I never had a job in my life, and I got stuck in there, and boy, I enjoyed it with all my life. I probably gave it 115%. You know, it was more than 100% I gave it. I know that.
Tell them what kind of job you had after you left Allis Chalmers.
After Allis Chalmers, I got to work for a company called Cooper Injection Molding, and it was all with transformers, and it was all with computers. That anytime you pull the presses late, the boss would pull a whole sheet in the morning, and you'd be in trouble. So it was a little bit different than Allis.
Well,
but then after that, I got a job at Rexnord making flex couplings, and what they are is two pieces, and you bolt them together, and they take up the torque between the machinery and the equipment, the motor. You know, so it'd change the torque. It'd take up the torque, and some of those flex couplings we made went on 1,500 horsepower motors.
Wow.
It was they used them in paper mills and steel mills, and they even put them on jet skis and cars. I think the Taurus had some. They said some flex couplings. So I did that for 13 and a half years, and after that, I retired. I told the wife I was going back to work, but I never did.
well, on behalf of all Allis Chalmers fans everywhere, I'd like to shake your hand.
All right, thank you.
As a thank you for all your hard work and
Yep.
dedication you guys put into the tractors we know and love.
Yeah, I enjoyed them as much as you like having them.
Yeah?
Yep, that's why I got a nice collection at home.
Oh yeah?
Really nice. I have probably well over 70 Allis Chalmers 1/16 tractors, and I got only one 1/8 tractor that I know of that they only made a WD-45. That's 1/8, and my brother-in-law bought that for me for my birthday. That's the only one. I wish send this out on the line that Allis Chalmers or these manufacturers need to make more Allis Chalmers 1/8 size, because I'm sure people would buy them. You know. But I enjoyed that. Working with brand new tractors, you couldn't go wrong. I enjoyed that job. I really did.